Welcome into the Make Your Money Matter show. I'm your host, Brad Barrett. Today on our show, we're going to talk about cash and stocks. Likely over the past year, you've seen rates going up, and therefore when rates go up from the Fed, we also see rates go up at our savings accounts, our bank accounts, and what we call cash or cash equivalents, things like money market funds. We're going to talk about that in relationship to your investments, particularly your retirement investments, and then your overall long-term objectives with your money. But before we get started, make sure to smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. All right, let's get into it. So as I was talking with clients recently, like I said, over the past year, I noticed BlackRock actually did a great study that I want to share with you today. And it's done, with some data represented by Morningstar, and it talked about particularly stocks and cash, which is what I wanted to speak about this week, but particularly about stocks outperforming cash. Now, many people think right now, as you're watching this, if you look at, as of the date of this recording of this video, the current money market right now, the 7-day average yield is right around 5.1%. I use the Schwab money market account as our equivalency here. Now, you can look that up. And again, it moves around every 7 days or so based on treasuries and what the Fed is doing. But again, it's right around 5.1%. So let's just pause there for a second. Like many of you right now, maybe you're talking to your advisor about this, or you're thinking to yourself, or you're like, wait a minute. What we call arbitrage, like in our business, in the investment world, basically the delta or the difference between what you can earn in, let's say, more aggressive areas like stocks or the stock market. And again, they're not really aggressive or risky. You can talk with your advisor about that. But in that area, about your risk tolerance in particular, right, when it comes to your investments. But when you talk about, the arbitrage there, if you're expecting on average, let's say, 7 or 8% as a hypothetical over a long-term balanced portfolio. And right now, you see money market accounts or cash equivalents, what a lot of people refer to as the quote unquote risk-free rate, at right around 5%. You start thinking to yourself, and by the way, I would share this, it's probably a new thought, frankly, over the past 20 years, because the majority of my career over the past 2 decades, we've seen artificially low interest rates. So this is a new topic that many people are thinking about. So I want to bring this up for you all to talk with your advisors, because you're going like, wait a minute, why would I go into the market if I can go into a relatively risk-free rate for right around 5% versus, again, going and having some ups and downs and volatility for longer term objectives to achieve maybe 7 or 8%. You're kind of thinking like, man, 2 or 3%, the juice doesn't really feel like it's worth the squeeze. And I want to share something here. I want to put a graph up here that I was done here, again, by BlackRock that I really like that shows this. The first graph I'm going to show you is the odds of cash outperforming, again, key word there, cash outperforming US stocks. Now, many of you who are numbers oriented, you'll likely think and see by this graph here that's showing you it's from 1926 to 2023. So it's actually, as of basically 2 or 3 months ago, end of 2023, you'll notice in the first couple years, right, the odds of cash outperforming US stocks in particular are higher. And then as you go out in the timeline, as you can see more towards 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, it gets lower. Now I want to share with you right now, and as you hear me say this all the time, that time is probably the most valuable commodity when you talk to your advisor or even yourself about investing. And I think this graph is a great illustration of that. So you're likely thinking, wait a minute, I'm going to go park my assets in cash, right, and just get 5%. And by the way, I'm not saying that's a bad idea by any means. I'm just saying you got to look at it in context. As you can see, you don't get what I want to call priced out. You don't want to get priced out because you can see as the Fed lowers rates, as we're expecting to do this year, we're not sure, but as they will likely do, let's say over the next 12, 18, 24 months, you're going to see high yield savings in money market accounts or cash equivalent accounts also come down. So be aware of that, right? Now, what you can see here in this graph is as you go out, again, 1, 2, and 5 years, it starts to get significantly lower. The odds of cash outperforming US stocks. What I really want to note here for a second, remember this. So these are odds. Don't misconstrue these odds here with percentages or rates of return. They're not. They are odds. Even in the 1 and 2 years, the odds are still only roughly 30% or 29.5% in year 1. So think about that inversely for a second. That's a 70% chance that stocks will outperform cash. Remember, this is done by cash outperforming stocks. You got to invert it. But what more to point here is what I want a lot of people right now, and I don't care, again, what age or stage you're in, to focus on the 10, 15, and 20 years. As you can see, basically what I've been sharing here, over time, over nearly the past 100 years, that when you go out past basically 20 years, the odds of cash outperforming US stocks is basically nil, right? Even if you go out 5 or 10 years, the odds of stocks outperforming cash gets upwards of 80 and 95%. Now, another graph I want to show up here, right, is the inverse of that. Now, this is more of an average underperformance of cash versus US stocks. Again, cumulative returns from 1926 to 2023. Again, you can see that the average underperformance of cash versus US stocks, now we're talking about actual returns here, you can see starts out pretty high at like 9%, negative 9%. It just gets dramatically higher in terms of like its negative underperformance, right, relative to the US stock portfolio. Again, what I really want to share here and drive home is these graphs that I liked and the conversation I've been having with clients that I want to share with you all is the idea that, yes, again, it's neither right nor wrong to put some of your assets in cash right now, or the thought of saying, hey, I should just park my assets in cash, right? But you have to consider your time context. If you plan on using this money or investing this money for the next 10, 15, 20 years, make sure you understand these graphs, this episode here today, and talk with your advisor about it, because odds are you're going to get priced out of money. Money market accounts in general, cash accounts, as they go down, you're getting priced out and you're figuring out what to do. And likely you're going to, go into a balanced portfolio, and that's where you're going to generate your wealth essentially. And you want to have a mixture of it today. We don't want to get stuck in all cash for too long. Having a good balanced portfolio, again, speak with your advisor about it and understand the probabilities here, if you will, of the odds of cash versus stocks. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that today. If you did, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. And always remember to make your money matter.